Hi, thank you for joining my presentation today. My name is Bethany Embry, and I will be doing a public criticism of Dove's #TheFaceOf10 campaign. To start off this presentation, I wanted to give a brief outline of what we will be discussing throughout this public criticism. And so first, I'll be giving a brief introduction into the purpose of this presentation, as well as the campaign and company that I will be criticizing today. I will then go into some methodology, into how exactly I will be approaching this campaign and the ways in which I apply criticism to it. I'll then discuss the visual aspects of the campaign, the main points of which I'll be using for my critique, and then I'll discuss the connection to my Communications 250 class at the College of Idaho, which is what this presentation is for, and then I'll give a brief conclusion just summarizing what I have talked about today. To begin, I want to give a brief introduction into the goal of this presentation, some background into the company Dove, as well as the campaign I'll be critically analyzing today. So to begin, the goal of this presentation is to critically analyze Dove's #TheFaceOf10 campaign, examining its visual and textual elements to evaluate how effectively it critiques societal beauty norms. Now, to get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty of who Dove is a personal care brand founded in 1957 in the United States. It's a #1 dermatologist-recommended brand in the US, Canada, and France. They offer a variety of products from deodorant, beauty bars, dry shampoo, and body scrubs. In 2004, they launched a campaign for Real Beauty, in which they featured images of real women that represented a broader image of beauty. The purpose of this company is to challenge stereotypes and celebrate real beauty, which they believe should be a source of confidence, not anxiety. Now, in terms of the campaign we'll be analyzing today, the #FaceOf10 campaign, this is because in recent years, girls of ages 10 and younger are being exposed to adult skincare content online and pressured to look a certain way. This is causing them to utilize beauty products that could be causing more harm than good, such as anti-aging products. Dove's #TheFaceOf10 campaign strives to critique societal pressure of beauty norms and promote self-esteem by featuring images of young girls engaged in childlike activities with thought-provoking written texts, and we'll get into some of these images later in the presentation. Next, I want to get into some of the methodology that I'll be utilizing to do my rhetorical analysis of Dove's #TheFaceOf10 campaign. This last fall, in my communications course, I was assigned a reading called Studying Visual Modes of Public Address by Cara Finnegan. Cara Finnegan is a writer, teacher, and historian of photography. She has been involved in numerous types of research, but her research has primarily focused on the role of photography as a tool for public life and the ways in which photographs can be powerful forms of communication as they visualize social issues, make visible those who are often invisible, and foster or limit bonds of identification. Within her works, she urges readers to engage in visual rhetoric and criticism from one or more of the following approaches: production, composition, reproduction, circulation, and reception. Those 5 approaches are the approaches I will be using as I critique the Dove campaign. Before getting into Finnegan's 5 approaches of visual analysis, I wanted to give a brief overview into the images I'll be critiquing today. In the top right corner, we see an image of a young girl with a huge smile and bright blue face paint present on her face. To the right of this image is an invoking text stating, "Is it even possible to look 10 years younger at 10? Girls as young as 10 are being influenced by anti-aging skincare content, which can harm their self-esteem." This will be the primary image that I will critique throughout this presentation, and thus I'll get into more detail into the visual and textual implications of this image later in the presentation. The image that I placed in the bottom left side of this slide, I felt gave a good overview into the campaign as a whole, as well as the positive reception it has received. It states #TheFaceOf10, the only skincare trend designed for girls to copy. Below that headline is a compilation of screenshots of videos that influencers have posted on social media advocating for this campaign. On the right side are statistics demonstrating how much this campaign has circulated, stating that 1.2 billion people have been reached and it has received 73 million views on TikTok. On the left-hand side, there are also several quotes from outlets such as People Magazine and CBS demonstrating the positive reviews of this campaign. The first approach I'll be utilizing to critically analyze Dove's #TheFaceOf10 campaign is production. Kara Finnegan describes production as where images come from and why they appear in the spaces where we find them. This is subdivided into 4 separate elements: the technical, generic, authorial/creative, and institutional. Technical refers to the equipment used, editing technique, sound, and any other filmmaking techniques utilized by the individual who created the visual element. In terms of Dove, they used soft, natural lighting, which aligns with the campaign's emphasis on natural beauty. They also used editing and lighting techniques that ensured that the women featured appear bright and glowy in their skin complexion. This was evident on the previous slide in the image of the young girl with bright blue face paint, as the background of the image was dark and the girl's face was completely lit, ensuring that it looked bright and glowy and extremely clear. The next is generic, which refers to the conventions and expectations of the visual elements genre. Oftentimes, when it comes to social media, the text circulated and images circulated tend to have pops of color and a big emphasis with very few words. This was evident in this Dove image as well, as half of the image was just the picture of the girl, and the other half featured the bold statement of, "Is it even possible to look 10 years younger at 10?" The next is the authorial/creative, which has implications in the author and or creator behind the work and their vision or known style. Dove as a company's signature style often emphasizes realness and inclusivity. This is seen through the inclusion of young girls in their statement visual pieces, reflecting their authenticity. Lastly is institutional, which focuses on the business side of production, and Dove uses this campaign to reinforce its image as a champion of self-esteem and body positivity while targeting new and existing audiences. They distributed the images through social media, especially platforms like Instagram and TikTok, likely maximizing their visibility and engagement. Additionally, they had multiple partnerships with various influencers, dermatologists, or ambassadors from different demographics, helping them reach a broader audience. The next approach I'll be using is composition, which refers to the description and interpretation of the visual grammar of images. This is often, again, analyzed in 4 separate components, and those are content, color, light, and spatial organization. It's also important to remember when critiquing the composition of a visual element, the social, cultural, and historical implications of the circulated text. And so first, content. The focus of this image here that Dove circulated is on a young girl with blue paint on her face, laughing joyfully. The accompanying text asked, "Is it even possible to look 10 years younger at 10?" and highlights the negative impact of anti-aging content on young girls' self-esteem in an almost ironic capacity. It also directly critiques societal beauty standards, emphasizing the need to protect the innocence and natural beauty of children. The colors seen are warm, earthy tones, especially present in the young girl's hair and skin, and they're contrasted with the playful blue paint on her face and bright pink of her shirt, symbolizing childlike creativity and freedom. The white background of the text section ensures clarity, while the darkened edges around the girl enhances her as the central subject of the image. In terms of light, they use soft lighting, which creates a natural warm ambiance, highlighting the girl's smile and her expressive features. You can tell her eyes are completely shut and the smile lines by her nose, really emphasizing how wide and how joyfully she's appearing. Lastly, the spatial organization. The image is divided into 2 distinct sections. The left highlights the emotional connection, the girl, while the right delivers the critical textual message. The balance between these visual and textual components ensures that the viewer grasps both the emotional and intellectual aspects of the campaign. And as I noted earlier, you must always discuss an image in terms of the social, cultural, and historical knowledge relevance. And so this image critiques cultural pressures that expose young children to adult beauty standards, particularly the increasing reach of anti-aging products and content on platforms like TikTok. It aligns with Dove's broader campaign to challenge unrealistic beauty ideals and promote positive self-esteem for women and girls. The next two approaches I wanted to cover were reproduction and circulation. Finnegan describes reproduction as what images do in the specific context in which they appear. Essentially, it's analyzing the aspects of the public appearance of the image. This might include things like captions, headlines, or written text surrounding a piece in a certain time or space. So in terms of the Dove images circulated that are present on the bottom of this slide, the caption, "Is it even possible to look 10 years younger at 10?" directly challenges the absurdity of applying anti-aging standards to children. The surrounding text provides the critical context, emphasizing the harmful impact of such beauty content on girls such as 10. The textual quote directly next to the image shifts the tone of the image of a laughing child from being just a joyful, playful moment to a direct critique of societal and media-driven beauty standards. Without this context of both the image and the contextual words, the emotional resonance of the image might not convey its full critique of anti-aging content. In terms of circulation, Finnegan refers to this as an interpretation of an image in one context, and it is not necessarily the case that all elements of that interpretation will make sense when the image circulates other contexts. The image on the right quotes from reputable outlets like CBS and Evening Standard, People magazine, provide a serious and intellectual framing for the campaign, enhancing its credibility for adult audiences in mainstream media. This contrasts with the lighthearted and visual engaging content designed for younger audiences on TikTok, where the focus is more on visual appeal and relatability. Also, this campaign is appearing at a critical time when social media forms like TikTok have an outside influence on young audiences. The text and statistics emphasize urgency by showcasing the campaign's reach and impact, making it a call to action to protect children from harmful beauty ideals. The last approach I wanted to apply to the Face of 10 campaign was reception, which focuses on how different audiences interpret and respond to visual works. It's often influenced by their personal, cultural, and social identities. For example, parents viewing the Face of 10 campaign. Parents will likely interpret the campaign as a call to action to protect their children from harmful beauty standards and the pressures of social media. The use of a laughing child with face paint reminds them of the innocence and joy of childhood that needs to be preserved. For the younger audience, particularly girls close to the campaign's target age, the playful imagery of face painting and the vibrant colors might feel relatable and engaging. They may see it as a celebration of their natural selves and an empowering rejection of beauty pressures. However, young girls already engaged in anti-aging skincare routines may push back against the campaign due to the societal pressure that they've already fallen into. Next, influencers or beauty enthusiasts may see the campaign as a powerful statement about the toxicity of certain beauty trends, aligning it with broader movements for self-acceptance and authentic beauty. They may use it to educate their audience on when it's appropriate to use certain products. However, some influencers, maybe those who are making money off of people trying the products that they recommend, may want to hide the effects of this campaign and not promote it on their channels. Lastly, it's important to note that both the cultural and generational differences may affect an individual's reception to the Dove campaign. In societies with intense beauty standards, such as South Korea or certain Western nations, the campaign might resonate deeply and spark meaningful conversations about the toxic culture of perfection. In other regions where beauty pressures are less pronounced, the campaign may be less impactful or understood differently, possibly as a commentary on Western beauty ideals. Older audiences who grew up in an era without social media may interpret the campaign with greater concern, viewing it as a critique of how modern platforms are harming younger people. Lastly, younger generations, particularly those immersed in TikTok culture, may focus on the viral and visual aspects of the campaign, potentially overlooking its critical stance on anti-aging beauty content. Now that I've applied the 5 approaches by Cara Finnegan to the Dove Face of 10 campaign, I wanted to spend a little time diving deeper into how this public criticism relates to my COM 250 class, as well as just communication as a whole. So my courses last fall was termed Criticism as Praxis, which essentially means engaging in a form of critique that is not just theoretical analysis, but that actively engages with the world to bring about change. This campaign by Dove does just that. It mirrors how criticism can act as praxis by blending both theoretical insights with practical intervention. The hashtag Face of 10 campaign does not simply describe the problem. It engages with platforms like Instagram, like TikTok, that perpetuate these norms to create meaningful change. We also see them use platform-specific messaging, tailoring its critique to TikTok's format of trends and challenges, taking advantage of TikTok's participatory nature to spread its message. This ensures that their circulation of the campaign went to the relevant spaces, essentially the space where young audiences are consuming the original beauty influencer content. Additionally, we see that different persuasive strategies utilized in this campaign. Dove employs emotional appeals such as pathos by using a happy, face-painted child to contrast with the stark, critical text about harmful beauty standards. This juxtaposition drives home the campaign's message. It also uses ethos by aligning itself with trusted social movements advocating for self-esteem and mental health, leveraging its brand credibility for greater social impact. This ties into rhetorical criticism, analyzing how visual and textual elements can persuade audiences in different ways. Next is ideologies. The campaign critiques the ideology of perfectionism that's promoted by the beauty industry, especially the expectation that even a children's appearance should conform to unrealistic standards. Lastly, we apply this to the criticism of popular culture. We did a reading this last semester in my communications class called Criticism of Popular Culture in Social Media, written by Kristen Horrell and Zoe Farquhar. In this reading, the author's approach was presented, and that critiquing popular culture and social media movements, one must seek to explain how popular texts contribute to broader cultural conversations about social life and politics. I think by critically analyzing this Dove campaign, it can easily be seen how dominant campaigns like this one contribute to conversations about young girls' use of skincare products, the definition of beauty, and women's self-esteem. To close out this presentation, I want to give a brief conclusion into some of the topics that we discussed today and the importance of a public criticism like this one. Dove's hashtag The Face of 10 campaign critiques societal beauty norms and promotes self-esteem among young girls. We saw this through numerous visual and textual elements, which revealed how the campaign challenges stereotypes and encourages confidence in young individuals. We did a critique of the campaign using Finnegan's 5 approaches of visual analysis, ensuring to connect those approaches to COM 250 principles, including visual rhetoric and modes of public address. Through this critique, we saw that the campaign highlights the importance of addressing harmful beauty standards in media. This is becoming increasingly important as more and more social media platforms are being created, more messages are being spread, and to a wider audience. Thus, if I could leave you with one thing today, I urge you to reflect on the need to critically engage with media and support campaigns who are advocating for positive change. Lastly, I'd like to present to you my references page featuring all the sources that I utilized to compile this public criticism. Thank you so much for listening.